It's loading, it's loading, it's loading, it's loading, it's loading. It's loading. And we are almost there. Okay. I cannot find the Zoom. There we go. All right, everybody. Hang in there. Oh, okay. Can you see me? Can you see me? Yes. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Little bit of technology that Nanny Bubby's getting used to, and you can certainly give me thumbs up for as far as I've come in the last few months here. I hope all of you had an amazing Thanksgiving, and I'm so happy that you joined us for the classes that we had and for the episodes we had leading up to Thanksgiving. And right now we're in the leftover mode. So probably you're thinking, what is Nanny Bubby doing for leftovers? And I just want to share with you, after the big feast that we had yesterday, what we are actually going to do in our household is have leftovers with a big green salad, because there's no better way to clean your palate after totally being indulged and lethargic from too much to eat than having a lot of good greens, and that will clean the stomach, clean the palate. So I have this fabulous Desert Bloom Farms lettuce mix that I get every week from the CSA farm, Desert Bloom. We have leftover green beans, if you can see that. I'm going to chop these up and throw these in the salad. I have leftover Brussels sprouts. I'm going to chop those up, if you can see that, and put those in the salad. I have leftover mushrooms from the appetizer plate that I put out to people to snack on until dinner was ready. I'm going to chop up the turkey and put the turkey in that, make a great oil and vinegar salad dressing and throw that on. We have stuffing left over, and I will tell you that we may save that for tomorrow morning, because putting it into butter and frying it along with some fried eggs and using that instead of actual bread to sop up the yellow yolk really always feels good to me, and it's a part of what Thanksgiving is all about for me. It's the leftovers, it's everybody joining together. So that's what I'm doing for my leftovers, and I need you to tell me what you are doing. So if you're using leftovers tomorrow, just type a 1 in the chat, and I'm going to grab my phone. You'll give me 1 minute. I'm going to grab my phone, because the only way I can tell what you're asking is by looking at my phone. So I'm going to do that. But while I do that, I'm going to introduce to you once again Colette Brown, who is here. So let me put us into gallery view so you can all see her. There she is. Colette, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Marla, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to see what you're doing with your leftovers.
Yes, yes. And what are you doing with yours while I go on to Facebook so I can see everybody in the chat?
I actually started a big bone broth with the turkey carcass this morning at around 8, and I'm going to let it go until probably 8 tonight. And I did it in a big stock pot. Normally I make my bone broth in a slow cooker, but it was so big I couldn't. So I used a stock pot, and my girls and I have been dipping into it and drinking it all day. So,
right. And that will clean you up too. So hey to my mom, hello to Teresa Caligari, who's known as Teresa Anderson on Facebook, and Roseanne, who is always here, come hell or high water. And I hope that all of you had a great Thanksgiving. I know my mom did, because she was here. So look, I really wanted to talk very sincerely to everybody, because I wanted to talk with you, Colette, as part of this platform. So I really believe that what makes me different than anybody else who might be cooking is my value system for what I cook and how I cook it is different than just, let's just find what we can find in the grocery store and cook it. I am not the cook that you want to follow. If what you want to do is make a big pot of pasta on Sunday night and then, reuse it for Tuesday as a side dish, I have certain philosophies about what I feel are healthy and good to eat and what I believe are not. We here in Nanny Bubby's household have good, strong, clean proteins, always organic proteins, And we serve that with a lot of vegetables, a lot of raw vegetables, a lot of cooked vegetables. And I also have a philosophy, Colette, and to everybody out there, Patty Kennedy is, Keneally is watching. Hey, Patty Keneally. That we do not have to worry during holidays so much about what we eat. As an example, there's a time to feast and a time to fast. And I think that it is our job as humans living in this world to really know the difference, that there is fasting times, meaning that you eat less, you eat clean, but when the holidays and the birthdays come around, it's time to just dig in. If there's a wedding, it's time to feast. And I go back to our ancestors who during the winter would fast during the winter times. And then, as they would catch their, hunting a deer or whatever they ate back in the day. I mean, we're talking way back in the day. They would feast on that, and that would hold them until they ate thinner times as it came about. So hello to Sherry Barassa. That's a mouthful, but I hope I got that right. So you're joining us, I think, for the first time. So thank you, Sherry, for being here. So Colette, you believe in the gut and the microbiome of the gut, as do I. And so I just wanted to have a conversation with you about that and about what your knowledge is, because I know you're very well trained in this, and I am not. I am just a cook who has come along the way, done a lot of research, and I have adjusted our eating and our life to adapt to that. So tell me about what you know as far as what I just said to you.
So I am also super passionate. I think the microbiome is one of my absolute favorite topics to talk about. It makes me excited. I love it. And the reason I love it is because I went on over 20 years of being unhealthy. And it wasn't until I discovered that it was all due to my gut. It was nothing to do with medicine or stress, or it is stress is definitely affecting it. But when I realized it was food and what I was putting in my body, and that our Western food pyramid, bad, it's not good. It's not good. I was eating like healthy according to what we were raised with. And it wasn't until I started incorporating those more protein. And in my personal life, I've eliminated all grains. I don't do that because grains are inflammatory, and in my body, they react quickly because my immune system was so down from years and years and years of antibiotics as a child. That's where I realized my gut microbiome was wiped out, and I've had to recover it over the years. And we all need to recover our ancestral DNA that you talked about. You talked about our ancestors and how they ate. We have their genes, their microbes that were passed on to us. They're called ancestral DNA. And so we need to do the best we can do to hold on to those, because once they're gone, and we can't restore them. So we need to eat healthy, feed the gut, like what you're doing, the raw vegetables.
And so when you talk about the microbiome, just in a brief, if any of the people out there that are listening to this right now, and either live or later on will tune in, and they say, well, they're hearing about the microbiome for the very first time. So there's a macrobiome and a microbiome. Obviously, we live in a world which is a microbiome, correct? But let's talk about the microbiome of the gut. And I want to say that any brain fog that you feel, and there have been studies that have been done that say specifically that Alzheimer's and memory is related to the gut and related to how you feel. And one of the things that they find with Alzheimer's is that if you can get into ketosis and sustain that on some level, that the brain starts to recover from that. Hey, Sue Gitterman, so happy you're here. just tuning in. You haven't missed much, so stay tuned, Sue. So let's talk about the microbiome. Define it for everybody who's watching. And I really want to say that this is about helping everybody find their health, their optimum place to live. And it doesn't mean that forever you don't eat the things you love. And I just want to say this before you define microbiome. I was a vegetarian for 7 years, but I'm going to tell you, on Thanksgiving, I always ate the turkey, and on Christmas Eve, I always ate the prime rib, and on Pesach, Passover for the rest of you, I always ate the chopped liver. I had to. Hey, Randy Marvin, thanks for being here. I really, these are things that I didn't want to give up because they were comfort foods for me. But the other, 50 weeks of the year, 49 weeks of the year, I ate a vegetarian lifestyle, not vegan, but vegetarian. Go ahead.
So, so the gut microbiome is basically good and bad bacteria is what it is. So it's good versus evil. And if you have more evil than you have good, then you're going to be off balance. They found that 95% of all diseases are from the gut. And you just mentioned Alzheimer's, dementia. I can add into that Crohn's, diabetes. There's other things. There's some things there's 5% that are genetic, and the rest are all gut related. So we can help manipulate and control our health through the gut. And one of the things that people might not know is that the microbiome is in charge of producing vitamins. It produces our K vitamin, our B vitamin, thiamine, folate. Those are all jobs of the microbiome. So if your microbiome is not functioning properly, it can't produce those for you. And we also, our microbiome might be not functioning so well, so we need to supplement. We need to make sure that we're bolstering quality supplements into our diet so that we can thrive, we can be healthy, especially during the pandemic. We want to make sure that our system is running high and that we can ward off and fight off infection. And that's part of the microbiome's job.
So what is the number one thing? So I'm going to ask you two questions. The number one thing that is dangerous to your gut that causes it to become immune low, and what is the number one best thing that you can eat for your gut?
Okay. So number one bad, I would say I say there's two for the number one. I would say sugar and too many processed foods. Those.
So by processed, you mean what?
I mean, like you're eating chips and too much pasta and like things like that is just part of the lifestyle that we have in America. And it's not healthy to do that. We need to eat more raw foods. Like you said, vegetables is probably the number one thing that we can eat, like greens. We eat the color of the rainbow, but greens are really important to help feed. And if you're eating also fermented foods, that actually is feeding the probiotics. So I would say there's two bads and two goods that you can eat consistently to help feed that microbiome.
So is there truth? I've said this before. Whoops, going the wrong direction there. I've said this before, and just wondering if it's an absolute truth. But I have said, because I have heard, and I do believe, that pasta that is grown in Italy and that comes from Italy, Americans go to Italy and they do not have the same gut reaction to Italian pasta, to Italian wheat that we have here in America. And one of the number one reasons for that is that glyphosate, the number one insecticide used in the fields of America, has been outlawed in Europe for years.
I've heard the same thing. And I have friends that are Italian and they can't eat pasta here. But when they go to Italy, they do, and they're okay. So, and there's also in moderation. So you'd mentioned don't ever like fully give up whatever. So there's a time in my house. I don't give my girls pasta. They might have it twice a month and they don't feel deprived at all. And I don't feel bad for when I do give it to them because it is a sometimes food. So, so I would say I've heard that too, and it's not GMO, and it's so highly processed,
And
it's
there's such
just not.
insecticide. I also will tell you a truth about myself, which is, so I gave up sugar. I am not a moderator. I am a complete extinguisher. I cannot say, oh, I'm only going to have sugar on birthdays, because if I have it once, I will have it. I just can't stop. And one time during the pandemic in late April, we brought in Italian food and cannolis were there. And I make this analogy, which my husband is sitting across the room. Fortunately, he fell asleep, so he won't hear the story. But I said that, hey, Tom Gallagher, nice to have you here. And Sue Ellen Rainish, I said her name right, is here. There you go. Thanks, Sue, for correcting me about that. I'll try to remember that as we go forward. But this is the analogy. That cannoli ended up on the table. It was towards the end of the pandemic. It was late April. I mean, we were all so miserable and depressed. And was this ever going to end?
Sorry, my dog just jumped
up. He's adorable. And these cannolis were sitting on the table. And I looked at them, and I had not had one taste of sugar since December 31st of 2019. And I looked at them and I thought to myself, I have to have those. I was feeling so miserable and I thought, I just have to break this. I'm going to dive in and I'm going to have this sugar. And to me, it was like when an old boyfriend comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, I know you've been feeling miserable and maybe you just want to let me in this one time. And you let him in and then he's there. And then when he leaves, you hate yourself for actually opening that door, right? And that's what happened to me with the sugar. I was really miserable about it. However, what happened is, hey, Dave Sugar. Oh my gosh, David Sugar. He is just the best guy ever. I've known him since Hebrew school when I was a kid. So happy to have him there. And my sister has now joined. You're welcome, Heather. I love you. What was I going to say? But what did happen to me when I say, oh, I'm talking, I say hello to everybody. I forget what I'm saying. Is that I'm very hypoglycemic. And after 6 to 9 months 5.5 months of not having sugar, after I ate it, I did not get that sugar low that I normally get. I did not get it. And I was really shocked. And what I have found now, because I stayed away from sugar for another like 3-4 months, I did have some, and I certainly had some last night, but I didn't drop to that really bad sugar low after I kept it out of my system. And Laura Mcneese is joining us. Hey, Laura. Love having her. Okay, so what do you think about that? What is your comment to that? About how when you're away from all of that, if you're eating it consistently, you will start getting all those symptoms over and over and over. But when you are just doing it, once every 4 months, once every 5 months, you don't have those same symptoms. Seems that you recover faster.
Right. So they found that there's nerve endings around our gut and they communicate to the brain through the vagus nerve, and they tell it, the microbes tell the brain what it wants to eat. It has cravings. And the microbiome, by the way, outweighs human cells 10-1. So they're real, they're there, and they're telling us what they want to eat. I'm sorry, I gotta get this little guy off.
On your lap, he's adorable. Go ahead.
He's gonna step on my computer and shut off the the Zoom. So I'm afraid. Oh, here he comes again. Okay, well, I'll keep him close so he doesn't disturb the computer. So it tells our gut tells our brain what it wants to eat. So when you kind of detox through that, and you're able to rationalize, and then you remember that old boyfriend, and when you see that food again, you're like, no thank you, because I know what you do to me, and I'll say hi, but then I'm going to say bye and move on, because then you start feeling like, for me, if I'm eating grains after, I feel horrible. I crash, I'm lethargic, I have horrible stomach pains. And I know that it's really hard for me. There's like corn, I think is the only, ironically, is the only one that I can have in small amounts that won't really disturb me too
So
bad.
how do you get to that? How do you get to listening to your body? Like what you just described, I wish that would happen to me. But for me, it's not a physical that runs the mental. It's the mental that has to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So describe that, because somehow I miss that. Like how do we get to that? If our microbiome nerve endings are greater than our human
Mhm.
endings, how come it is not talking to us more?
It is. It's talking to you.
Well, I'm
It's
not
like,
here.
it's human cells versus our microbiome, the bacteria. So they outnumber us 10 to 1, not the nerve endings. Um, but the bacteria in our gut is what, if we remember, oh, we love that pasta, that sugar, that it's like, remember, we really love it and we need it, we want it. So if you're detoxing that out, it's not that you never will not have a craving or you will never not have to say no, but it's kind of a mental game at that point where you're saying, okay, I remember how it makes me feel. So this is part willpower too. And being able to walk away and say no, or you know what, you might get to the point where I am now, like if I want to have a bite of something, I'll have it, like it's okay, but I can shut it down, and then I go for a long period where I don't have something. So I think it's important to know the why. And for me, I know that if I eat it, I'm going to get sick and I'm not going to have my optimum life. And I want to live a long life because I have 2 beautiful daughters that I want to spend the future with, and I want to see their children, and I want to be here, and I want to live healthy, and I love to travel, and I love to be active. And so that drives me to making good choices in my life. So I think
And
it's a
so
mixture.
what does alcohol do to your gut?
Alcohol, it's more, it affects the liver, and it helps, it actually doesn't help, but it it kind of takes away your nutrients. So if you are going to drink alcohol, you want to make sure that you're replenishing your body, and taking some activated charcoal after, so that you can help process the alcohol out. And then if it's high in sugar content, sugar is not good. And so then there's a lot of effects that it can have on your body if you're if you're trying to be more healthy.
And so you were telling me about a study recently that that has been done. So tell everyone who's watching right now about the study.
Okay, so um, we live in an environment today where a lot of people are really living in sterile environments. They don't want their children to go outside and play in the dirt. Keep your shoes on and wash your hands and don't touch that and don't touch this. And we actually develop our microbiome through contact with the outside world. And there was a Finnish study that they just did showing preschoolers that are in preschool in really sterile environments versus a preschool with where they bring in nature, meaning that they show them about gardening and they have really healthy soil that the kids are getting their hands in and their feet in. And they found that touching the dirt, not only does it transfer because the earth has its own microbiome, so does it not only transfers to us, but touching dirt actually releases serotonin, which helps us to feel happier and less stress. And that's scientifically studied. And so it's really important to have contact with nature. It's important, and it starts when the kids are young, and it's tactile too, and it develops pathways in the brain. So there's so many benefits to it. But that was an amazing study that I just read about.
And there is nothing healthier. I know with my granddaughter, we went outside and she loves tomatoes. Like nobody in our family actually ever loved tomatoes as children. We developed eating them as we got older. She loved cherry tomatoes from the time she started eating. She loved eating them. And there was nothing more amazing that we would go outside. She would go over to the little, we had these little tomato midgets. So they were the size of like 2 peas, that small. They're called Mexican midgets.
Huh.
And she would say, "Can I eat these?" And I'd say, "Just pull them right off the vine. Just give them a little, I would say, do this just to get the dust off of them from the wind and just pop that in your mouth." And boy, let me tell you, her eyes would just light up. And I know I follow Dr. Zach Bush. And for any of you that want to follow somebody that is one of the most knowledgeable food gurus that I adore, and if you ever listen to Rich Roll podcast, just search Dr. Zach Bush. Those 2 podcasts that Rich Roll did with Dr. Zach Bush really changed my life, changed my thinking, changed the way that I cooked, changed the way that I want to teach cooking to others, which ultimately is what I want to do. And I'm really seriously thinking about doing a test group for Cyber Monday, having sort of a Cyber Monday sale, and getting 10 to 15 people into a group as a test group that I can create this course through feedback. I need the feedback to be able to do that. So if you're interested in that, by all means, DM me and let's have a conversation about it. And I'm going to put out an offer, I think, on Cyber Monday. I say I think because this is also new to me. I don't even know how to do it, but I'll figure it out because I have everything else. But he really talks about taking children, letting them dig in the soil, make sure it's organic soil, which Nanny Bubby's garden is organic, and letting children, pick the eggplant, letting them pick the pumpkins, letting them pick the peppers, letting them help you cut the basil. And then afterwards, bringing that in and eating it. I will tell you that every herb that I put in Thanksgiving dinner came right out of Nanny Bubby's garden. And it made me so happy. It made me so happy. The only thing I had to buy was parsley because I had used it all and it hadn't started to sprout up yet.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And
I know. So the sad thing is a lot of children don't even know where vegetables come from. They
right.
don't know how they're picked, that if they're from a tree, the ground, underground, they don't know. So I think it's really important to instill and give our children opportunities to explore and see that.
Well, when I was a kid, because Las Vegas is all desert and there are no, farms here. I'd never driven by a farm. I really believe that food came from, was grown in a restaurant. I remember saying to my grandmother 2 things. I remember saying 2 things. I called her Nanny and I said, "Nanny, how come there's wind here? Because there's no trees. So how could there be wind?" And she laughed hysterically because I believe the wind came from the trees, not that from the air. So that's where I learned that wind came through the air and it blew the trees, not the opposite, that the trees blew the wind, right? But as a child, that's what I thought.
What a discovery.
Right. And then I also thought that food came from a hotel. So I remember saying, I thought that all food came through a casino, actually. And that's where all food was made because
we're so innocent as children, right? The ideas that we have.
Yeah. But I was like, well, how come when we would go into the grocery store, there would always be slot machines in the front of the grocery stores in Las Vegas. That I remember saying to my grandmother, there's not a big enough casino here for there to be this much food. Where's the food coming from? Right? Because there was only a couple slot machines. I was expecting to have a big casino. So, that's where I thought food came from the mobsters, I guess. Because they buried people in the desert, I figured that they were picking up food on their way in. Who knows what I thought? But anyway, it's just true. Children really need to be educated because as we continue to grow and as life changes in our world, we need to get more back to nature. I really think the pandemic is teaching us that. Do you feel that it is?
I do. I do, because we're really thinking now, and a lot of people, I cook almost daily for my family. But a lot of people haven't, and they were forced to. And then you start questioning, well, what's going in my body if I'm making it? And so I think it's really brought awareness to a lot of people about foods and health. And I do. And it's helped us, well, I was gonna say it helped us slow down. I feel that I'm busier during the pandemic, even though I'm not moving. I used to travel a lot with my job. I think what I do is my consulting, and that stopped, but I'm busier than ever. So anyway, deep breath.
Deep breath, deep breath. And
Deep
Colette
breath.
in her house, her kitchen redone, as is Nanny Bubby over here. So we have to laugh because everything is just so out of sorts. It's hard to continue through. But I have a list of different things that you sent me, but the fact is now that I'm looking down at it, the print is so small that if I actually stop to read it, I'll take my eyes off of everybody who's watching, who I love and adore.
Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah,
Or
well,
we're
just
good?
tell me, have we hit all the things that you said? I will say this, Dr. Zach, while you're looking maybe to talk
Okay.
about it, Dr. Zach Bush in 2016 was at a conference, and he predicted that the very next pandemic would come out of the Hubei province of China, which was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because Wuhan is in the Hubei province of China. And when asked at that time why he was predicting that the next pandemic would come from that area of the world, his answer was this: the highest use of glyphosate in the world is coming out of the Hubei province. And since glyphosate is an airborne antibiotic, everybody in that area of the country, the Chinese countryside, was being impacted by glyphosate. And as a result of that, their immune system was weakened. And as a result of that, the ability for a pandemic or a virus to take hold would have been in that population. And he was right. He predicted that in 2016. And David Sugar said, hey, Roger Cruz, thanks for joining us. Napoleon said an army travels on its belly, meaning soldiers need to be well fed, and the better fed, the better the army. But this is true for everyone, which is why Nanny Bubby is universally so relevant. Oh, I didn't see that, but thank you, David. Thank you. That was very sweet. But yeah, an army does travel on its belly, and they have to be well fed. And our children, when they go off to school in the morning, do not need a bowl of wheat and sugar, because they will have brain fog like no tomorrow.
Yes.
Even having a bagel before they leave, as opposed to an egg, as opposed to fruit, is not
Avocado.
an avocado, which is a good fat and actually nourishes the gut and the brain. That is a very good thing to serve your kids before school. Very good. Thank you, David. I appreciate that very much. That was I'm sure he has a lot of quotes. For all of us, you need to tune in every day at 3:00, David, because we could use some of your quotes here. That's for sure. But this is my passion, Colette, and to all of you who are watching, is that I'm not for everybody. I am a cook who believes in wholeness and goodness and fresh every night as best you can. There are some tricks that you can do along the way, but you're going to find very little wheat and pasta and potatoes in what I make. Sweet potatoes, yes. Butternut squash, yes. Carrots, yes. Some of the higher carb vegetables, without a doubt, they're still good. They're still healthy for you, and you need those complex carbs, right? But for the most part, we're teaching clean eating, and that it doesn't have to be fast, and it doesn't have to be easy. Those are two lies that we've been told that we're failing as a cook for our family if it's not fast and easy. That was big business trying to tell us that fast food was the way to go. but there can be an ease, and it certainly can be happy. And the happier you are in the kitchen, the happier your family, your children, everybody else is going to be.
Mm-hmm. This is so true.
And that's what
And
I
your
look
dogs.
And your dogs. Yes, look how sweet he is. He looks like a little teddy bear.
I know
So
he does.
before we
He
sign
does.
off and thank everybody for watching today, what would you like to say? Anything that we missed?
Um, I don't think so. I love the concept of of nurturing and just feeding the soul, the gut. And I think that some people might think it's hard, but I think when you have the right information, that it's really not. And that's all it is just making some modifications. And so I love what you're doing, and
Yeah, I love what
so
you're
happy to be connected with you.
I know. And so let's just talk about fermented vegetables really quick. So if you're looking for fermented vegetables, which is the very best thing you can feed your gut. So if you're looking for a snack in the afternoon, honestly, you're getting hungry and you want to eat a snack, you want to know what Nanny Bubby reaches for? I reach for sauerkraut. I reach for dill pickles. Make sure that there's no vinegar in it, just salt and water. And there's a brand called Bubby's that is a fermented pickle. You can find it at Sprouts or Whole Foods. Kimchi is a fermented vegetable. There goes the pup. So sauerkraut, pickles, kimchi, what else is fermented that they can find in the grocery store?
They can also do like a kefir is good.
Kefir.
That's really good to do. That kind of doubles. And what else can we do? We could do, you already said, I think most of them. I mean, there's different types that you can go into. They have pickled everything.
Right.
So anything fermented is really good, but I love kimchi too.
I love kimchi, but I will tell you what my favorite snack is in the afternoon. In fact, right before I sign on, sometimes if I haven't eaten all day and it's 2 o'clock and I know, oh my God, at 3 o'clock, it's time for dinner with Nanny Bubby and I'm starving, but I need to eat something really fast, which is the worst thing you can do. But it happens to even me. I will go and reach for sauerkraut. And you want to know what I put in it?
What?
Pistachios. I sprinkle a handful of pistachios in my sauerkraut, and that is my favorite afternoon snack. It makes me
Amazing.
feel so good. It gives me tons of energy before I talk to all of you. And I think to myself, oh my God, I'm feeding my gut. I feel so good about this. I feel so good.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite snack. Do you have a favorite snack? And then we'll say goodbye.
I love to do, we do a lot of smoothies, but I only use berries and
Uh-huh.
organic berries, and in it you can put, I don't do any cow dairy, but I do sheep and goat. So you can put some yogurt in there, to help give you some probiotics, even though it's not enough for a day. And then you could put chia seeds, you could put nut butter if you want. Those are all really good ways to get a nice snack too.
So let me ask you just one last question before we leave. I'm relaxing in here and getting ready to ask a big question. So I bought probiotics, which you turned me on to and told me to buy. The instructions say take 2 tablets of probiotics in the morning on an empty stomach with water. Great, I can do that. Then it says, and as you go along, you can increase. So here's my question. How do I know when it's time to increase? How do I know that?
So you can, I would say after a couple weeks of use, add a third one in and see how you feel.
In the
Because
morning or in the afternoon? Okay,
no,
also
I do it all at once. And then the one I recommended for you has prebiotics and probiotics together in it, which is nice. But if yours doesn't, then what I'd recommend is taking prebiotics maybe 30 minutes prior to taking your probiotics, so that your probiotics that you're taking has food that it can eat. And then also eating the fermented food is feeding the microbiome too.
So I will tell you that I felt no difference taking 2 of the probiotics every day. So
Okay, so add another one in,
what am I
and just
supposed to feel? What are we supposed to feel?
I can tell you what you're not supposed to feel. You're not supposed to have like loose stool, because if you take too many probiotics, that can sometimes happen. And you should feel just, I think, a little bit healthier because your body's able to produce the vitamins that it needs, and it's able to do its job and its function. And when it's not healthy, it can't complete the tasks at hand. So I think it's more of looking at making sure that it's not off, and that something is not shifting to the negative in your body. But you really can't go wrong. And people that are actually trying to heal their body of disease, they take massive amounts of probiotics multiple times a day. And so you won't go wrong if you just start increasing it a little bit, and then you'll find your happy medium, and then you can stay there and play with it. And if you want to take more, but you can't go wrong.
Okay. Well, Nanny Bubby's going to go make leftovers. Nice big salad with green beans from last night. Fabulous leftovers with dill on them. They were so good. Brussels sprouts with mustard seed. Oh my gosh, everybody loves these. A little bit of cranberry in that. This, I'm going to add turkey, going to add the mushrooms, going to chop them up, going to feed our microbiome and help get our brain fog gone from a fabulous Thanksgiving, which was really, truly amazing. So we definitely spread love like butter all night last night. And there was just 5 of us, but it was a good night. So
that's amazing. It's wonderful to be with family and share gratitude and what we're thankful for, and remembering why to be thankful, because we get so busy sometimes. So I love that about Thanksgiving, just stepping down and showing gratitude.
Yes. Well, I showed a lot of gratitude because my husband last night, I want to tell you this, he's sleeping. I really want him to hear this, but he's fast asleep. But last night, my husband spontaneously just got up and did all the dishes from dinner. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to stop him, but I know he was just amazing. And usually my housekeeper, who's been with me for 25 years, Maria, always comes, and she will, if we have a dinner party, she'll always come at night and help us out. But Maria's got a family, and she needed to be with her family last night. And so Tom did as good of a job as Maria did. I have to tell her, she'll love that story. So
amazing. Good job.
Good job, Tom. When he wakes up,
good job, Tom.
Listen to this. He'll wake up.
That's amazing.
And
that's
he's like,
amazing.
You told everybody on Facebook I was sleeping, and the answer is yes, I did. But I also told them that you did all my dishes. And by the way, he will say he wasn't sleeping, he was just resting his eyes, right? I wasn't sleeping, I was just resting my eyes. Okay. Okay to sleep. It's okay to sleep.
It's wonderful to sleep. We need to sleep.
We need to sleep as much as we need to eat healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the count of 3, are you ready, Colette?
I'm ready. I'm
1,
ready.
2, 3. Spread
love like butter. Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving weekend. Talk to you not tomorrow because it's Saturday. I'm off on Saturdays, but I'll see you on Sunday. Bye, Colette. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Let me end this.